Hello, students. Welcome to Sir Thomas Tutors. Today, we are going to learn a new concept in economics called the production mechanism. Let me begin by asking you what comes to your mind when I ask you what is production? You would answer factories, goods, machines, raw materials. Excellent. So, what according to you is production? Production simply means creating goods and services to satisfy human wants. Now let us see what now let us see what the text has to say. Productive mechanism is a system which determines the production of goods and services in an economy. Right? This is there in your text. So it is a system which determines the goods and services produced in an economy. Now it can differ, this system can differ in different economies, from countries to countries. But yet, every country has its own production mechanism. Different economists explain the meaning of production differently. To Adam Smith, who is known as the father of economics, he says production means producing a material or a physical good only. That is, that good has to be seen, touched, should have a definite shape and a size. You see the example, you see the examples given down? A table, a fan, a pen, your shirt. These are all physical goods. So to Smith, only if something physical is produced, that is production for him. But students, modern economists did not fully agree to Adam Smith. To them, production is not about making physical goods only. To them, production is an activity that creates economic utility in goods. That is, adding value in goods to satisfy human wants. For example, a carpenter is adding value to the wood by making that wood into a table. Or in a flour mill, you are changing your wheat into a flour. So, in short, what is production? It is a process in which inputs are transformed into output. But over here, while we are defining the word production, you should keep in mind that there are certain things which do not come under this economic definition of production. And now, what is that? For example, it is important to note that while creating utility, domestic activities or household activities are not to be included in the above definition. Why? Because there is no money value attached to it. For example, mommy cooking for you at home, or cleaning of the house, or the caregivers who do not take any money for it. So basically, when there is no monetary gain or no monetary attachment, you cannot have this included in the economic definition of production. Right, students? We move on with our next topic, the factors of production. Now, tell me one thing. If a car manufacturer wants to manufacture cars, can he do it without land, without labor, without machines, without entrepreneurial skills? No, he needs all these factors to manufacture his cars, right? And therefore, all things that are necessary for production are called factors of production. Let us see what Benham has to say. He says, anything which helps in the process of production is a factor of production. What does Benham say? Anything which helps in the process of production is a factor of production. Now, if you split that factors of production into two parts, factor on one side and production on the other side. So, factors, what do you see? You have inputs, right? You've got inputs out there. And for production is your final output. Now, to get that final output, to get that final product, you need to give in your input. And what are your inputs? Your inputs: land, labor, capital, and enterprise. Now, all this is not free. You will definitely be rewarded for the factors that you give into production. First, for land, you will get your rent. For labor, wages. For capital, you will have interest. And for your enterprise or organization, you will have either a profit or a loss. So these are your four factors of production that goes into making your product. Now, let us understand this entire concept of the factors of production. The simple example of the simple example on Lalit Motors. Now, Lalit Motors is into manufacturing of cars. Now, let us see what are the factors he requires to manufacture his cars. First, he needs land. Now, why does he need land? He needs land for his building, for his warehouse, for his factory, for his godown, for a space to keep his manufactured cars. So he needs land as his first factor. Next, labor. Now, who are his laborers? His labor is what? Technicians, drivers, mechanics, his administrative staff, and so on. So both. It involves physical as well as mental labor. Right, my dear students? Moving on to his third factor, capital. He needs machinery. He needs money, both physical as well as money capital. And finally, the fourth factor that he requires, an entrepreneur. Now, it is that entrepreneur who is willing to take that risk to get these four factors together, to coordinate with these four factors and give us that car. Now, if he coordinates well, his production is successful, he is bound to get a profit or a supernormal profit. But somehow he lacks coordinating these factors of production, he may eventually suffer losses. So you see, the four factors of production are very essential for any production process. And this you will see when you get your final product. Now let us understand the first factor of production that we are going to read in this class, and that is land. Land as a factor of production. So, my dear students, land is a basic factor of production. It does not mean only soil or earth. It means all natural resources that are given by nature free of cost. Right? All natural resources given to us by nature free of cost. What are they? For example, forest, rivers, minerals, mountains, sunlight, water, and even air. Thus, Alfred Marshall states that these free gifts of nature are very essential for production. Right? So, Professor Alfred Marshall tells us that these free gifts of nature are very essential to production. Now, let's understand the characteristics of land. Land is a free gift of nature. My dear students, land is given to us by nature free of cost. Means what? Land is not created by us human beings. It's a free gift of nature. Whereas the other factors of production have to be produced at a cost. Next, land is limited in supply. Students, can we increase the total land of the earth? No, right? So, a peculiar feature of land is what? Its fixed supply. Other factors of production can be increased, but not land. Right, my dear students? I hope you are with me. Land is a primary factor of production. Land is the first and the basic factor of production. The first and the basic factor of production. Without land, no production takes place. Factories need land, farming needs land, roads and buildings need land. So you see how land is your first and basic factor of production. Land is a passive factor of production. Why, my dear students? Because it cannot produce anything by itself. For example, land alone cannot grow crops. What does it need? It needs labor, it needs seed, it needs water, it needs machines, and so on. So, what does it tell you? Land on its own cannot produce anything. It is a passive factor of production. Land is permanent. Land is permanent. Land does not perish or disappear. It's not perishable or cannot go out of existence. A laborer, a worker may die and be forgotten, but land continues to exist, right? All that all that may happen to that particular land was that it would lose its fertility over time. That's it. But land is there. It is permanent. It cannot lose its existence. Land is immovable. Land cannot be shifted from one place to another, right? It's immovable. Cannot be shifted from one place to another. So even if the rent in Mumbai is very high, you cannot get a land from the village and put it in Mumbai. So what do you see? Land is immovable. Land varies in fertility. All land is not equally fertile. Some land grows better crops than others. But land, that fertility of the land can be improved by the use of chemical fertilizers. Right, my dear students? I hope you are with me. Land differs in location. Yes, my dear students, location also matters very much. Land in large cities is extremely scarce, and therefore, what does it do? It commands a high value. But land, on the other hand, along the river valley can be more productive and richer. Also, land located near good roads and markets may have better value. So, you see, the value of the land also differs in location. Land has many uses. It can be used in different ways, like farming, industries, roads, railways, buildings, hospitals, schools, and so on. Land is an important factor of production in spite of the fact that land is a passive factor of production. So we see now we're moving on to importance of land. What does this tell you? That no production can start without land. So my dear students, so land is the factor of production. So you cannot begin any activity without having land. Now, why is land so important? It's important because it provides natural resources in the form of forests and mineral resources. It facilitates farming. It provides the base for all economic activities. Raw materials for industries are obtained from land, especially electricity, coal. It facilitates development of the means of transport and communication. Most of our wants, yours, mine, are satisfied directly or indirectly because of land, right? Natural resources promote science and technology. So that is your importance of land. Why is land so much important to us even today? Moving on with another important concept, productivity of land. Now, students, tell me one thing. If two farmers had the same portion of land, would both farmers have the same produce? No, right? They would differ. Why? Because of land, because of technology, because of soil irrigation, the farming methods, whatever the farmer differs with, right? So, although the two farmers have the same portion of land, but both will not have the same produce. Well, this answers the question on productivity of land. Let us see what the text has to say. It simply means the capacity of the land to produce a crop. Now, to quantify it with a formula, we say productivity of the land equals to output upon area of land. We then move on to the main factors that determine the productivity of the land. What are they? First one, natural factors. My dear students, nature plays a very important role. Like, for example, the fertility of the soil, climate, rainfall, and the quality of the soil also affects productivity. So, what do you see here? Fertility, climate, and the properties of the soil all help in the productivity of the land. That's why it is the main factor, the natural factor of your production. Size of holding. Productivity depends on the size of holding. Now, large farmers can easily use tractors, machine, modern technology, and so what? Their produce is going to be more and better compared to the farmers who have tiny plots because they cannot use modern technology, right? So tiny holdings, small holdings cannot difficult to avail the advantages of modern techniques. Our next factor is the human factor. Now, land cannot produce crop on its own. It needs human effort. So, man has to employ labor on land to produce for himself. So, that productivity of land will depend on the knowledge and training of the farmer. For example, if the farmer is skilled and experienced, he's definitely bound to get a better produce. But if the farmer is less experienced and unskilled, he may not get that much of his produce. Next, improvement on land. Students, productivity increases when land is improved. And how do you improve this land? By irrigation through wells, or tube wells, you have a proper drainage system, fencing of your farm, and so on, thereby improving the productivity of your land. Next, location of the land. Location also helps productivity. Land located near the market is supposed to be more productive than the land at a distant place. Why? Because the farmer will have to pay more for transportation of the produce to the market. So, definitely, a farmer would prefer a place closer to the market or somewhere on the roadside, nothing towards the interiors. That will drop down in his rate of transportation. Next, organization. Proper organization of the factors of production is also very important. Now, your productivity of the land will depend on how labor and capital are organized. So, definitely, when you have trained workers, when you have modern implements, good seeds, manure, and your irrigation facility is in place, all this will definitely help in increasing the produce of your land. Ownership of land. Students, ownership of land is also very important. A landowner usually takes more interest in his land when the land belongs to him. But, if, but for a tenant, he will think twice to invest in that land because he's afraid that someday probably he may have to evict from that land. He may be asked to vacate that land. So he will not. So the investment would be much less than a person who actually owns the land. Availability of capital. Productivity also depends on the use of capital. This can be increased. How? With the help of seeds, chemical manures, and machines. So you see, once you put the capital which is available into use, you're bound to get a better produce. So this will increase the productivity on any piece of land. Proper use of land. Land should be used according to its suitability. For example, if the land is suitable for producing wheat, how can you produce rice instead of wheat? So you have to use the suitability factor when it comes to the usage of land. State help. The government also helps in improving and increasing agricultural productivity. In what way? Through irrigation projects, through loans, through fertilizers, through high yielding variety seeds, and so on, thereby playing a vital role in improving agricultural productivity. So, students, in simple words, the better these factors are managed, the higher will be the productivity of the land. With this, we come to an end of this class. Now, if you have any questions, queries to ask, please be free to ask. I'll be happy to help you for the answers. Also, from the point of examination, I have left behind a set of questions and answers which you can download and prepare yourselves for the boards. Do not forget to like, share, or subscribe for more such lessons. I will see you for our next class on labor.